আসসালামু আলাইকুম, কেমন আছেন সবাই? আশা করি অনেক ভালো আছেন। আমিও আপনাদের দোয়ায় ভালো আছি। আজকে আমাদের রিডিং টেস্টের রিডিং চ্যালেঞ্জের তৃতীয় দিন। তৃতীয় দিনে আমি আজকে ২টি আর্টিকেল পড়ব। এবং আপনারা যারা আমার সাথে আছেন আশা করা যায় আপনারাও আমার সাথে পড়বেন। যদি পড়ে থাকেন তাহলে প্লিজ কমেন্ট বক্সে জানিয়ে দিন যে হ্যাঁ আমরা পড়ছি, তাহলে আমার অন্তত মনে হবে যে হ্যাঁ কেউ একজন আমার সাথে আছে। তো ঠিক আছে, আমার তৃতীয় দিন আজকে মনে হচ্ছে যে অনেকটা কনফিডেন্ট নিজেকে মনে হচ্ছে। পড়ার প্রতি একটা আলাদা ভালোবাসা কাজ করছে। তো আমি নিয়মটি বলে দিই আরেকবার, যদিও আপনারা জানেন যে আমি প্রথমে স্টপ ওয়াচ চালু করে দিয়ে একটি প্যাসেজ একদম ওয়ার্ড বাই ওয়ার্ড সুন্দরভাবে মিনিং জেনে পড়ি, পড়ার পরে দেখি যে কত মিনিট লাগলো, পরবর্তীতে আবার একবার থ্রুলি রিডিং পড়ে ফেলি যে কতক্ষণ লাগলো। তো এইভাবে আমি আমার রিডিং জাস্টিফাই করি এবং আমার স্কিমিং পাওয়ার বাড়ানোর চেষ্টা করি। তো আহ, ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আমি চলুন শুরু করি আজকের মতো। আজকে তৃতীয় দিন, 3 days of 40 days reading challenge. ওকে, 2 days এবং এই লিঙ্কটি, অর্থাৎ এই লিঙ্কটি আমি ডেসক্রিপশন বক্সে দিয়ে দিব। আপনারা চাইলেই পড়ে নিতে পারেন। এবং আমার আজকে ইনভায়রনমেন্ট পেজের তৃতীয় আর্টিকেল পড়ছি। আজকে আমি 2টা আর্টিকেল পড়বো। আর আর 5 দিন টোটাল ইনভায়রনমেন্ট নিয়ে কাটাবো। তাহলে ইনভায়রনমেন্ট মানে পরিবেশের যত ওয়ার্ড রয়েছে সেটা আমাদের চলে আসবে আমাদের ভিতরে। এবং আমি তো নোট নিই। এটা আমার আইএলসে যখন ইনভায়রনমেন্ট নিয়ে কোনো প্যাসেজ যদি আমি পেয়ে যাই তাহলে অনেক কাজে লাগবে। ওকে, হোয়াট ইজ ক্লাইমেট চেঞ্জ? ক্লাইমেট চেঞ্জ কি? A really simple guide. Okay. What is climate change? And a simple guide, maybe the author is provided by this article. Okay, human activities have increased carbon dioxide emission, driving up temperatures. Human activities have increased carbon dioxide. We, it means we are the accountable for the increasing carbon dioxide on the earth. We are doing so many activities. For example, um, yeah, the business activities by build housing, and other so many activities we are doing, and that's why the carbon dioxide is increased. Carbon dioxide emission is increased. Okay, driving up temperature. Driving up. So driving up means change our native format. Okay, let's go. No, this is not. Driving up. গাড়ি চালানো, driving up temperatures. What is climate change? Okay, first we should know that what is climate change. Climate is the average weather in a place over many years. Climate change is a shift in those average conditions. Climate is the average weather in place over many years. Climate is the average weather in a place over many years. In a particular place, weather over many years stimulated climate change. It's called climate. And climate change is a shift in those average condition. It means the climate is a particular place, so many years weather condition, and when its condition changed, it's called climate change. Okay, the earth is now in a period of rapid climate change with global temperature rising. The earth is now in a period of rapid climate change because we are facing a lot of change, especially on climate, the heat waves and the work fires occurs so many countries. So we can easily say that we are the biggest threat for climate change, and we are seeing that the everyday occurs and everyday impact on earth by climate, global temperature rising. What will climate change mean? Okay, people, what will climate change mean? What does the mean about climate change on people? Climate change will transfer the way we live, causing water shortage and making it harder to produce food. Climate change will transfer the way we live. It will change our lifestyle, causing water shortage. It's cause was water shortage and making it harder to produce food. Water shortage হওয়ার কারণে কি হবে, আমাদের ফুড প্রডিউস করতে হার্ড মানে ফুড প্রডিউস করতে আমাদের হাজার্ড হবে, মেকিং ইট হার্ডার টু প্রডিউস ফুড বিকজ অফ ওয়াটার শর্টেজ অ্যান্ড ইটস occur because the final causes of climate change. Some region could become dangerously hot and other uninhabitable because of rising sea levels. Some region could become dangerously hot. Dangerously hot, it's a good collocation for using at our speaking session or writing session. Dangerously hot, some region could become dangerously hot and others uninhabitable বাসযোগ্য বসবাস অযোগ্য uninhabitable because of rising sea level. Extreme weather events like heat waves, downpours and storms will become more frequent and threatening lives and livelihoods. People in poorer countries which are less able to adapt will suffer most. Okay, some region could become dangerously hot. Some particular places, those are over hot, and others uninhabited because of rising sea level. Extreme weather events like heat waves, downpours and storms will become more frequent and intense তীব্রতা intense
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 intense intense intense intense
intense it means তীব্রতা. Some region could become dangerously hot and other uninhabitable because of rising sea levels. Extreme weather events like heat waves, downpours and storms will become more frequent and intense, threatening lives and livelihood. Okay, the whole para, I mean what will climate change mean, how much effect on people. If I cut the story, the summary, I would say that climate change will transfer the way the impact our lifestyle, and it consequently the short of water, it's maybe hamper our food production, and secondly, some areas in our earth dangerously hot. We cannot live, there is no condition to live there, and extreme weather, that's why extreme weather events like heat waves, downpour and অনেক বৃষ্টি and storms will become more frequent and intense, threatening life and livelihood. ওকে, মানুষের উপরে অবশ্যই ফুড প্রোডাকশনের উপরে প্রভাব পড়বে, ওয়াটার শর্টেজ বাড়াবে, অ্যান্ড কিছু কিছু এরিয়া রয়েছে যে এরিয়াগুলোর এত পরিমাণ হিট ওয়েভস বেড়ে যাবে যে আমরা বসবাস করতে পারবো না, মানুষ বসবাস করতে পারবে না, এবং এই কারণে এক্সট্রিম ওয়েদার ইভেন্টস অনেক কিছু ঘটবে। ফর এক্সাম্পল লাইক হিট ওয়েভস, ডাউনপোর অ্যান্ড স্টর্মস, ঝড় ঝঞ্ঝা হবে, বৃষ্টি হবে অনেক, হিট ওয়েভস, অনেক টেম্পারেচার বেড়ে যাবে। যেমন কানাডাতে আমরা জানি শীত প্রধান দেশ, বাট সেখানেও কি হিট ওয়েভস বেড়ে যাচ্ছে রেগুলারলি। ব্রিটিশ কলম্বিয়াতে 50°C তাপমাত্রা আমরা ফেস করেছি, টিভিতে দেখেছি। সো এই কাজগুলো কিন্তু কখন হবে? ফ্রিকুয়েন্ট বিকাম মোর ফ্রিকুয়েন্ট, ঘন ঘন হবে। এবং উই আর ফেসিং নাও, উই আর গোয়িং নাও in this situation where the extreme weather events happen. Okay, then the environment, polar ice and glaciers, this is a new word for me, হিমবাহ,
glaciers
glaciers, Okay, uh, polar ice and glaciers are melting fast, are melting মানে গলানো, are melting fast. Polar ice and glaciers হিমবাহ are melting fast. The swiftly melting the polar ice and glaciers that try to call the writer, with low-lying coastal areas threatened with flooding by rising seas, with low-lying coastal areas threatened, threatened with flooding by rising sea levels. Yes, that's right, because when the polar ice and glaciers will melt, that time um, the that time the sea level, the water will more come and more raised. That's why the coastal areas, people who are living the beside sea, they are unable to live there. I mean, I think they are extreme. They feel extreme problem to leave that area. For example, if I say the in my if I say the example for my country purpose, we know that the Chittagong district, situated beside the sea, and that's why we call that the coastal area. When the ice melted and the sea level will raise, that time the coastal areas people, I mean the Chittagong's people, will suffer a long run. As uh, par- permafrost as permafrost, what is this means? par par par
As permafrost.
As
As
permafrost,
permafrost.
permafrost,
As permafrost.
as permafrost,
As permafrost.
permafrost হিসেবে. Okay, as permafrost, frozen ground means হিমবাহ
Frozen ground.
frozen ground melts in places like Siberia. Methane, another greenhouse gas, will be released into the atmosphere, worsening climate change. Worsening, what is this means? The worsening মানে খারাপ,
Worsening. Worsening.
worsening climate change. Okay, the weather condition needed to wildfires are becoming more likely. The weather conditions needed for wildfires means dabanol, maybe wildfires, dabanol, yes, wildfires. The weather condition needed for wildfires are becoming দাবানলের জন্য
দাবানলের জন্য আবহাওয়ার পরিস্থিতি আরও বেশি হওয়ার সম্ভাবনা।
Okay, the weather condition needed for wildlife are becoming more likely. Okay, there's the environment caused. I mean the environment অনেক রকম প্রবলেম হবে, অ্যাটমসফিয়ার এর ভিতরে কি মিশে যাবে, কার্বন ডাই অক্সাইড মিশে যাবে, কেন? বিকজ অফ দাবানল, মানে বিকজ অফ উইল্ড ফায়ার্স এর জন্য, এবং মেল্টিং আইস যেহেতু গলে যাচ্ছে, মেল্টিং হচ্ছে, সেহেতু কোস্টাল এরিয়ার কি হবে, পানিগুলো বেড়ে যাবে, সি লেভেল কারণে মানুষের অনেক ক্ষতি হবে। তো এই সব কিছু কি রিলিজ করবে? গ্রিন হাউস গ্যাস, মিথেন আমাদের গ্রিন হাউস গ্যাস, এগুলো রিলিজ করবে এনভায়রনমেন্টের ভিতরে, অ্যান্ড কনসিকুয়েন্টলি উই আর সাফার আ লং রান. So that's the effect on environment from climate change. আচ্ছা, এখানে একটা কথা বলে রাখি, আমি এই যে অনেক সময় এক্সপ্লেন করি, I know that I explained wrong things. What the way I explained, I know it's not worth to explain. I have no capability to explain, to read and after explain what the writers say about, but I'm trying to improve my reading skill and understanding level. That's why I'm practicing, man. I'm just practicing, my friends. Please forgive me if I do some mistakes. Please forgive me, because I am practicing. It's the practice time. It's generally happen the practice time the candidate make mistakes. It's normally happen. Please take it normally. Okay, nature. What's the pronunciation?
nature,
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 nature.
nature,
N-A-T-U-R-E, nature,
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 nature, nature,
nature.
nature,
Okay. As their habitat change, তাদের আবাসস্থল পরিবর্তনের সাথে সাথে as their habitat change মানে মানুষকে নির্দেশ করছে they are indicate the people who are living on the coastal area. As their habitat change, some species will be able to move to new locations, but climate change is happening so rapidly, many are likely to become extinct মানে ধ্বংস হওয়া, extinct বিলুপ্ত হওয়া,
extinct,
extinct মানে বিলুপ্ত হওয়া, extinct. Polar bear are at risk of disappearing as the ice they rely on melt away. Risk of disappearing means অদৃশ্য,
disappearing,
অদৃশ্য. Atlantic salmon could be devastated as the river waters in which the breed warm up devastated. বিধ্বস্ত, devastated, devas, devastated, devastated. Okay, I should write down some words. Yes, definitely. This is the 3 days challenge. 3 days. Okay, the word is devastated. DEVAS, devastated. বিধ্বস্ত, devastated. Okay, the greenhouse effect. We above read people, how the climate effect on people, and then read how the climate effect on environment and nature, and now I'm trying to read the greenhouse effect. Okay, what are the causes here? Some sun's rays pass through atmosphere. Sun rays pass through atmosphere. Some rays reflected into space, allowing earth to cool. 3 some rays trapped by carbon dioxide in atmosphere. And 4, increased carbon dioxide causes more heat to be retained and temperature to increase. Okay, let's explain what are the causes. There have always been natural variations in the climate, yes, obviously, but global temperature are rising now because of human activities. The world is about 1.2 C warmer than before. People started using oil, gas, and coal to power factories and transport and to heat homes. The greenhouse gases released by burning this those are fuels. Coal, oil, gas, those are fuels trap the sun's energy. The greenhouse gases released by burning trees, fossil fuels trap the sun's energy. Okay, we can see the picture. Human influence has warmed the climate. The amount of greenhouse gas is in the atmosphere has risen about 50% since the 19th century and 12 in the past 2 decades. DFCADS, 2 decades. Decades means 10 years. Another source of greenhouse gases is deforestation. I mean, greenhouse gases are produced by man activities, and another reason is the deforestation. When trees are burned or chopped chop down means কেটে ফেলা। কেটে ফেলা, yes. Cutting down is a poor word. If we use in a straight cutting down, it's chopped down, it's maybe better, and maybe probably we can get the higher band in speaking. Chopped down. chopped, chop down মানে কেটে ফেলা। chopped down, chopped down. The carbon that normally is stored and released. What will happen in the future? Okay, what will happen in the future? If it continue going on, what will happen in our future? Scientists have set temperature increase of 1.5 C and safe limit of global warming. If temperatures go higher, conditional sentence, damaging changes to the natural environment will probably transform the humans' way of life. সম্ভবত probably transport humans way of life, সম্ভবত মানুষের জীবনযাত্রাকে বদলে দেবে। Yes, তাই তো তাই। Many scientists believe this will happen and predict rises of 3C or more by the end of the century. The effects vary around the world. The UK will vulnerable to flooding caused by extreme rainfall. The UK will be চরম বৃষ্টির কারণে যুক্তরাজ্যের বন্যার ঝুঁকিতে পড়বে। Okay, the UK will be vulnerable to flooding caused by extreme rainfall. Low-lying island nations in such as the Pacific region means প্রশান্ত মহাসাগর অঞ্চল. The Pacific regions could disappear বিধ্বস্ত, অদৃশ্য. Okay, অদৃশ্য, disappear under rising seas. I mean, when the sea level water rise fast, the Pacific region, so many countries will probably will go under the water. Low-lying island nations in such as the Pacific region could disappear under rising seas. Many African nations are likely to suffer drought and food shortages. Many African nations are likely to suffer droughts means khora, and food shortage. In North America, worsening drought conditions are likely to hit the western US, while other areas will probably see increased rainfall and more intense storm. Okay, the climate change will affect so many countries, and total on the earth will destroy it every one day. And one of the most causes is the UK will suffer extreme rainfall, and lowland countries will probably go under the sea, go under the water. And third is African nations presumably suffer drought and food shortage. That's why so many people maybe died, and other so many effect on people or country also. Australia is likely to suffer extremes of heat and drought. Yes, we already seen that in last year that Australia faces wildfire, a huge wildfire, and so many species died in that fire. So it's already happened, my friends. We can see average rise in sea level relative to 900 by 9,000, 19,000 or 1900. unlike but high impact rays under future with intensive fossil fuel use, including ice sheet instability. Future with intensive fossil fuel use. Different possible scenarios. What are the government doing? Okay, countries are being asked to adopt targets that would reduce their greenhouse gas emission to net zero by the middle of the century. This means by emission would be balanced out by observing an equivalent amount through planting trees. For example, the hope is this will prevent the most dangerous effect of climate change by arresting the rapid rise temperature. Okay, what are the scientists doing? Scientists understanding that climate change is increasing all the times. For example, they can now make link between climate change and single weather events such as extreme rainfall and heat waves. It is hoped that they could better predict this extreme event in future. What can individual do? অর্থাৎ what can we do as a person? Scientists say people can reduce their reliance on cars by taking public transport or cycling. Reduce their reliance আমরা যেগুলোর উপর নির্ভর করি নির্ভরতা
reliance,
reduce their reliance. What can individual do? Scientists say people can reduce their reliance on cars and by taking public transport or cycling, insulate their homes, take fewer flights, eat less meat and dairy. What question do you have about change in our climate? In some essays, your question will be published displaying your name, age, and location on you provided. Unless you stress otherwise, your contact details will never be published. Please ensure you have read our terms and conditions. Okay, there's the end. Okay, that's the end of this passage. Okay, this article divided in so many sections. First, the impact of nature, impact on people, environment, and then what is greenhouse effect, how can it affect us, and what will probably in our future and what will do in individual for combat climate change, reduce climate problem. Okay, that's all about article. The first article. How is the time? The time is 28. Time is 28. Okay, now I read through articles again. Okay, 28. Okay, let's start. What is climate change? A really simple guide. Okay, human activities have increased carbon dioxide emissions, driving up temperature. Extreme weather and melting polar ice are among the possible effects. What is climate change? Climate is the average weather in place over many years. Climate change is a shift in those average conditions. The Earth is now in a period to rapid climate change, with global temperature rising. What will climate change mean? People, climate change will transform the way we live, causing water shortages and making it harder to produce food. Some regions could become dangerously hot and other uninhabited because of rising sea level. Extreme weather events like heat waves, downpour, and storms will become more frequent and intense, threatening lives and livelihood. People in poorer countries, which are least able to adapt, will suffer most. Environment. Polar ice and glaciers are melting fast, with low-lying coastal areas threatened with flooding by rising seas. As par as as par as par Farmers, frozen ground melts in places like Siberia. Methane, another greenhouse gas, will be released into the atmosphere, worsening climate change. The weather conditions needed for wildlife are becoming more likely. Nature. As their habitat changes, some species will be able to move to new locations, but climate change is happening so rapidly, many are likely to become extinct. Polar bears are at risk of disappearing as the ice they rely on melt away. Atlantic salmon could be devastated as river waters in which they breed warm up. Tropical Tropical coral reefs may disappear as oceans absorb carbon dioxide and become more acidic. Okay, the greenhouse effect. What are the causes? There have always been natural variations in climate, but global temperature are rising now because of human activities. The world is about 1.2 C warmer than before people started using oil, gas, and coal to power factories and transport to heat homes. The greenhouse gases released by burning these fossil fuels trap the sun's energy. Okay, the amount of gas in the atmosphere has risen about 50% since 19th century and 12 in the past 2 decades. Another source of greenhouse gases in deforestation. When these are burned to chop down the carbon they normally store is released. What will happen in the future? Scientists have set a temperature increase of 1.5 Celsius as the safe limit for global warming. If temperature go higher, damaging changes to the natural environment will probably transform human way of life. Many scientists believe that will happen and predict rises of 3 degrees Celsius or more by the end of the century. The effect vary around the world. The UK will vulnerable to flooding caused by extreme rainfall. Low-lying island nations in areas such as the Pacific region could disappear under the rising seas. Many African nations are likely to suffer droughts and food shortages. In North America, worsening drought conditions are likely to hit the western US, while other areas will probably see increased rainfall and more intense storm. Australia is likely to suffer extreme of heat and droughts. What are government doing? Countries are being asked to adopt targets that would reduce their greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by the middle of this century. This means any emission would be balanced out by observing an equivalent amount through planting trees, or for example, the hope is this will prevent the most dangerous effect of climate change by arresting the rapid rise in temperature. What are scientists doing? Scientists' understanding of climate change is increasing all the time. For example, they can now make link between climate change and single weather events such as extreme rainfall and heat waves. It is hoped they could better predict these extreme events in future. What can individuals do? Scientists say people can reduce their reliance on cars by taking public transport or cycling, insulate their homes, take fewer flights, eat less meat and dairy. Okay, that's all about those about this article. We can see we see it how much time we need. Okay, 6 minutes. I need to read these articles. Please read. Now it's your turn. Please read this article and comments me how much time you need to read the article. Okay, I have to spend I spend 6 minutes to read articles. How about you? Please comment me. Okay, that's all about this article. If I cutting down the summary of this article, the article probably the article divided some um, categories how can affect the climate change, how will suffer for climate change, and the people, environment, nature, and so on, increase what are the causes, why the temperature is changing, and then how the scientists are doing about climate change, how the government should do, and finally how can we how can we individuals are contribute to reduce combat climate change. So that's the way the writer try to make understand as the influence of climate change, the negative influence of climate change, how it could hamper our life. ওকে, এটাই ছিল আজকের আর্টিকেল। তো আমি টেম্পারেচার এনভায়রনমেন্ট নিয়ে আজকে 3 নম্বর আর্টিকেল পড়লাম, এবং আমি বুঝতে পারছি যে অনেকগুলো ওয়ার্ড আমার জানা হয়ে যাচ্ছে এই রিলেটেড, টেম্পারেচার রিলেটেড। তো যাই হোক, আমার দেখা হবে নেক্সট আর্টিকেলে, নেক্সট ডে চ্যালেঞ্জে, 4 ডে চ্যালেঞ্জে, 40 দিনের যে রিডিং চ্যালেঞ্জ এখানে। তো ঠিক আছে, ভালো থাকবেন সে পর্যন্ত। আর অবশ্যই আপনি ট্রাই করবেন। আর যদি আপনি ট্রাই করে থাকেন তাহলে অবশ্যই কমেন্ট বক্সে জানাবেন যে আপনার কতক্ষণ লাগছে এই আর্টিকেলটা পড়তে। হ্যাঁ, এই আর্টিকেলের লিঙ্কটা আমি আমার ডিসক্রিপশন বক্সে দিয়ে দিব, সেখান থেকে প্লিজ আপনারা কালেক্ট করে নেবেন। তো ঠিক আছে, ভালো থাকবেন। বাই বাই, টাটা।